Now, was medicine always the mission? How did that come to fruition?
No. Yeah, that's a hard question, man. I mean, honestly, sometimes I still thinking about it, I don't even know. But I think Alonzo had a big part to do with it, just having an example of showing me like, okay, a black man can become a physician. Like, you don't have to necessarily take the straight path right to it either. Because
Mhm.
he took a few years, you know, doing like additional schooling and working as doing a few jobs and stuff here and there before coming back into med school later. So it just I guess he gave me a great example of it being a possibility.
Mm.
I will say that I've always enjoyed the sciences. And as a kid, I was in like the GATE program in California public school systems. They have this thing, it's called the Gifted and Talented Education, the GATE program.
Okay.
So I was having a hard time in school because I wasn't being like challenged with
Mm.
like the standard curriculum and stuff. And then when I got put in the GATE program, there was people doing it big around me, like it was like steel sharpened steel. And I was like, oh, okay, we're
Mm.
real, that's how this thing works, that's how that thing works, and getting into biology and chemistry, I was really geeking out on it.
Nice.
But I kind of I did lose interest in that stuff over time. Like after I lost my dad, and I kind of just started, I didn't really care about school anymore, like I
Mm.
was just like playing sports, hanging out in the streets, partying, like I just didn't have any vision or goal for the future to aim at. And I was just squandering my time, really, like I
Mm.
barely graduated high school, man. I think my senior year I had over like 400 class absences or something like that. It was
Wow.
crazy. Yeah, I barely graduated for real. Like I had to take like summer school at this like, it was like a teenage parent program school that was like running summer courses where you could just, knock out the credits you needed just to graduate. And on time with the rest of my class. So I like barely scraped it by. And then that summer, September 11th happened. So I
Mhm.
went in, I just enlisted a few weeks later because I could tell like I needed some discipline. I was like, man, I wasn't even thinking about going to school. I didn't take the SATs or the ACTs or anything like that. I
Mm.
just, I just graduated high school and I was like, okay, now what? I'm just chilling,
Yeah.
kicking it
Right.
with my boys and stuff. No plan, Then September 11th happened and I was like, okay, this is something that I'm needed. Like I can add something here. I have something to give.
Got it.
So I was like, all right, I want to go serve my country. I want to see the world. I want to help have them pay for my education. Maybe I can make something of myself if I go this route, because I
Mhm.
know the way I'm going right now is ending up in a bad place if I keep doing what I'm doing, basically.
Yeah.
And from that, I I things really changed for me. Getting that discipline, um, and particularly there was one dude who another tying it back to that mentorship. There was
Right.
one dude who got me into classes because when I came. The first like 3 years I was just serving, doing my job. I was working as
Mhm.
a radio tech, and going around the world. I was in Japan for a while, South Korea, Philippines, Thailand, kind of moving around.
So,
And then I went to Iraq in '04 to '05. I was serving outside of Fallujah. And I was there during like Operation Phantom Fury and the second battle of
wow.
Fallujah and all that stuff. Things that was crazy. And those experiences kind of put things into perspective for me too, where I was like, man, a lot of my buddies didn't make it back. Definitely a lot of them, even more of them, didn't make it back in one piece. So life became very valuable to me at that point. I saw how short life is and how you really have to maximize the time that you have.
Mhm.
And I was also conflicted too, just by the things that I saw over there, the destruction and the death. And I was like, man, this is not this is not the world that I want to be in. You know what I mean? I want to find a way to make the world a better place, basically. You know, I
Right.
wanted the rest of my life to have like positive impact.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to figure that out, that that's what I needed. But when I came back from Iraq, I was kind of having a hard time transitioning, you know, back to like normal life. But one of my boys, Paul Rosati, um, was the section sergeant of the section I went back into. And he was like, "Hey, man, you're a smart guy, dude. Like, come take these classes with me, man. What are you doing? You're just
Mhm.
like drinking beer and playing beer pong and hanging out on the weekends, not doing anything, you know? And
Yeah.
let's take these classes on Saturdays and Sundays. Let's go take these classes after, you know, during our lunch break and after work and stuff." And I got with it. I got with it pretty quickly. I was like, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
my lunch break, I was driving off base, go to a little community college, take a class, come back to work. In the evenings, I would go to a different school, Campbell University. I was taking classes there. And then on the weekends, Southern Illinois University was flying professors from Illinois to our base in North Carolina. So I was taking those classes on Saturdays and Sundays every other weekend. So I was
Wow.
basically going to three different schools at the same time. I was taking like something like 32 semester hours a term. I was just going ham basically.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was crazy because I was going to three schools, so they didn't know I was overloading, you know, like each of them thought I was taking like 10, 12 units. But
Right.
yeah, I was just going hard. Like I put all my energy, I guess it, you know, just on some like psychoanalytical stuff. I think I had a lot of stuff I was trying to process when I came
Mhm.
back from Iraq, and
Mhm.
I like refocused that into just working my behind off.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, that gave me the drive and energy to just go hard like that, because I had a new goal and I felt like if I get there, then things will get better, you know. And then I just
Mhm.
pushed really hard to get my bachelor's degree. And it was all thanks to Paul pulling me into it and being like, "Hey man, let's do it. You could do this. You're a smart dude. Let's get it." And then I, you know, going through those classes, I built up my confidence even more.
Right.
And you know, and I was able to do a little bit of catching up, because it only took me like 5, 6 semesters to get my bachelor's degree at that pace, you know.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So then I left the Marines, went back to civilian world, and then that was a whole nother transition. You know, I was married at the time, like most, you know, young dudes in the military. I got married at like 21 or something.
Wow.
That lasted like 2 years. And you know, I came home and everything just kind of blew up, fell apart. You know, we were fighting all the time. I was struggling to figure out what I wanted my place in the world to be, what I was going to do with my life.
Right.
And that's kind of what I was foreshadowing a little bit earlier, is like I was begging to find a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like I knew I had the horsepower to go to
Mhm.
grad school and like, you know, be an intelligent dude and pursue an academic career, but I didn't know where to put that energy, you know. So I was just working like as a field engineer doing telecommunications for like Boeing and AT&T and stuff. But I was like dragging myself out of bed every morning. I hated what I was doing, you know. Like I felt like, man, who cares if these
Mm.
people have, you know, 5 bars versus 4 bars on their cell phone or whatever. Like I,
Right.
you know, climbing towers and just being like, I hate my job, you know. And then I started thinking about I started thinking about Alonzo. I started thinking about medicine, like where how can I help people? How can I use my, you know, natural you know, passion for science and stuff. And it all kind of came together over this 2 year period where I was just doing a lot of introspection and
Mhm.
figured out like, yeah, you know, I was like 26, 27 at that point. And I was like, man, med school is so hard. Like, if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it. And that was that, man. Like, you know, that was around 2011, 2010, 2011 when I decided I wanted to go back to school. And it was tough, man. I was working full time, but I was doing the same kind of grind I was doing on the Marines. I was like taking OChem and physics on the side while I was still, you know, climbing towers and doing all this stuff during the day. And it was wild, but you know, it took me about 4 years, to be honest, like to do all of the pre-med prereqs, take the
Uh-huh.
MCAT, you know, like get, you know, my volunteer hours up and all that kind of stuff while still working full time. It took me about 4 years. So around 2014, 2015, is when I started working in public health
Hmm.
at a nonprofit under a former surgeon general who I met while I was doing my pre-med stuff at University of Arizona. And he kind of took me under his wing too. This dude, Dr. Richard Carmona, amazing guy. I could talk for another hour about him alone, man.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna chat a little bit about.
Okay, all right. I don't want to go into too much, man. I know you guys probably have more questions, but that was kind of the transition point for me. Was like,
Okay.
once I got home out of the Marines, looking for what am I going to do in my life, it all kind of came together and pointed me towards like, yeah, you need to go back to school and pursue a career in medicine. That's where you can make the biggest positive impact.
Hmm. I'll say this and then I'll toss to Fred. What you just gave, that's a journey. And it was a journey, and it seems that at every stage, like every checkpoint, you got some level of either revelation or a push via mentorship. And for me, it's very
Yeah,
salient how important mentors are in your life and your career and where you're at currently.
100%. 100%. I no doubt would not be where I am right now
Hmm.
without, like, I can identify like 4 or 5 specific people at each point where it was like, yep, if I didn't meet them, I wouldn't have
Hmm.
gone to the Marines. If I didn't meet that dude, I wouldn't have gone to school. If I didn't meet this dude, I wouldn't have gone to, public health. And if I didn't meet this dude, I wouldn't have gone to med school. If I didn't meet this
Right.
dude, I wouldn't have gone to ophthalmology.
Exactly.
And it's like, it's always there, man. It's just a common theme. And I that's what makes me realize the value of it. Like, it can make the complete difference in somebody's life, just having that right mentor looking out for you, and being willing to accept that mentorship too, I think, is a big part too.
That's a
You
big
gotta
part. Yeah.
you gotta be prepared when that opportunity presents itself to capitalize on it.
Mhm.